Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. And if you guys want to see how I got from this basic mask to this awesome predator head, then keep watching. So I'm back, which means I have a phone full of footage that I need to organize into a video. And I can't stand a long intro, so let's go ahead and get into this. So a lot of this footage that I'll be showing you guys is over a year old because I've since made another predator mask. So please keep in mind I will be missing chunks of footage, and I'll try my best to explain and piece everything together the best way that I can. It's safe to say that I have an extremely unhealthy obsession with the predator, specifically the female Yautja, because although we get to see her, just do her thing in comic books and stuff, we have not yet gotten to see her on the big screen, and I'm waiting. So I decided I am impatient and I want to go ahead and embody her myself. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with the female Yautjas in comic books, they are large, they're in charge, and they're very logical. I absolutely love the stories that we have in the comic books because you get to see how much different they are from their male counterparts. So I really wanted to pay homage with this cosplay to all of the predators that we all know and love, but also keep in mind some of the unique characteristics that the female Yautjas have. And I was having a hard time trying to figure out how I'm going to put all that together. So please keep in mind I am very new to cosplaying and mask making. So this head right here was my very first one, and I decided to lean into more of the jungle predator for inspiration for this mask, and it was a little big, a little bulky. There was a lot of problems, but there were some things that I took from the original jungle hunter that I really liked, but I felt really limited. So for this specific predator mask, I decided why not do a mashup. I wanted to take traits from each predator, starting from the feral predator, which, by the way, complete side note here, but the wolf predator from AVP2 is my absolute favorite predator. Not only does he have the most badass weaponry, but look at him, he looks like a work of art. I believe besides the feral predator that this one is the most unique looking, and it does sadden me because him and the pred alien are so cool looking, and they were put in a very dark and boring film and you could barely see anything, and it didn't focus on them. But anyway, I digress. Since this Yautja is my favorite, I wanted to take most of his physical traits and combine them with the other traits from the other predators so I can have a complete female Yautja mask. So I ended up borrowing physical traits from the city hunter, the wolf predator, the feral predator, and the jungle hunter, and blending them into a more feminine look for my predator mask. So before I get too ahead of myself, I did want to share this with you because I did do a plaster cast of my head, and luckily I had my husband there to help because I had no idea what I was doing. I watched a few YouTube tutorials and just dove in, and luckily it came out okay. I definitely learned what I'll do different next time, but it works for what I needed. I can link some of the products below that I've used. And by the way, to do this casting, it was really easy and surprisingly cheap. You can find most of the supplies at Hobby Lobby and or Walmart, and I got it done pretty quickly. I will say though, please keep in mind, just a warning, it is very messy, and just be careful because if you drop it, it will break. I tried to make it a point to kind of catalog the items that I use for you guys, but keep in mind that inflation has happened. This is about a year ago, so the prices may have changed, but Hobby Lobby, to me, in my opinion, has the best prices on these things, especially EVA foam. But these are the items that I use to make the base of my mask. I do have a standard template from Etsy for a head, and I cut the eyes out and I glue the mask in there. That way my mask fits to my face more secure and snugly. And I do go through and Dremel the eyes open or melt them open. That way I have a little bit more peripheral vision. For those of you who have long hair or a lot of hair you have to hide, I would make sure you give yourself extra room in this mask so you can tuck it in without it being seen. So you want to make sure that you have some spandex fabric on hand so you can glue it around the base of your mask. That way you can get a nice, realistic, fleshy looking neck. Just a warning, you'll see plenty of this backer rod throughout my whole cosplay experience. This right here is the holy grail. Not only does it keep my masks and my props really, really lightweight, but it is flexible. I can melt it, I can bend it, I can twist it, and I can put wire through it, which you'll be able to see right here. And it really just helps give my mask the shape that I'm looking for and gives something for the foam clay to sit on. This right here is the infamous foam clay I was just talking about, and none of my cosplays would be possible without it because it is extremely affordable, especially at Hobby Lobby, and it is extremely lightweight. It's easy to sculpt with, it dries quickly, and it's very forgiving, and most importantly, even after you seal it, you can still go back and build right on top of it. And just a quick additional side note, I have ditched contact cement altogether and I started using this fabric glue sticks. They come in black and white. They sell them at Hobby Lobby as well. And I just don't have to deal with the smell and the mess and the waiting because I'm really impatient. Not only can you use it for fabric, but it works great with regular foam and EVA foam. And I just use it for pretty much everything right now. I was able to take that boring base from how it looked before to this, and all I do is take a little bit of that foam clay. You want to get it wet, get it malleable, and you can just build and build and build. And to get that thin, fleshy layer of skin on the sides for the cheek, I do go in with some fabric and I cover it with the foam clay as well. And I would just suggest going real slow. Make sure you have a reference photo near you and don't build upon too much before drying because it will start to droop. So just be patient, take your time, make sure you let it dry, and then keep going from there. It does puff up just a little bit when it dries. So if you want to go in and add some detail, you want to make sure it dries completely first before you start adding texture and slicing it up because it can expand and close the cuts that you make on it. I personally just sit the head in front of a fan every night and then go back to working on it the next morning. And while I give that time to dry, and because I have chronic ADHD, I try to keep myself busy, and I did get some Play-Doh and just play with it and carve myself a little chest burster because I thought it'd be fun. And it was actually really easy, and I let it dry, and I ended up painting it, and I made some bones as well. Moving right along, I did get some moldable plastic. I actually got the Instamore from Amazon. They do also sell it at Hobby Lobby, but I do like this more. The instructions are very clear. It's very easy to use. Just want to make sure you put it in some boiling water and then make sure you take it out with something because it's very hot. Give it a second to dry. It's very malleable. It's really easy to sculpt and it does harden. Now, it doesn't harden too quick. You have enough time to shape and form it. And this is actually what I use to make my teeth. And I'll let it sit out until it's almost dry. Then I'll take a wire and poke a hole through the bottom. That way I can place the teeth where I need them to be. Unfortunately, I am missing some clips where I did go back and add some detail. This is layers later after it's set and dried all the way through. And unfortunately, I ran out of my white EVA foam clay, so this ended up turning black because it's all I had. I went in with some tools and carved out some lines so it looks like wrinkles and flesh to make it look more realistic. After I did all the details, I went in and just tried to make sure the teeth fit great and that they're where I need them to be because I will actually glue them in place so that way they won't be able to move. And if you happen to mess up with the polymorph, all you have to do is put it back in the water and reshape it and start again. So I was looking at my reference photo of the wolf predator and saw that he had little tiny extra teeth coming from his mandibles, and I wanted to incorporate that into mine as well. So I'm just putting an extra set here to just give her more of a unique type of look. So this is what I like to call liquid gold. Now, this is Flex Bond and it works wonders for foam clay, but do not use this unless your foam clay is completely dry. So what I like to do is take a little bit of the Flex Bond, and for every 1 part Flex Bond, try to use 2 to 3 parts water so it's a little milky. You don't need it completely running and dripping, but you need it thin. And I like to do maybe 3 to 4 layers, and I let it dry in between. And the way it makes this look, it almost gives it a feeling like a shiny new toy once it's done. But you want to make sure you get this in every crevice and crack anywhere you see foam clay because it will protect your creation. Also, just wanted to take the time to highlight here the crown of the head. I did take that characteristic from the wolf predator, but I also wanted it to have texture, so you'll see these little dots and spots on the top, and it'll actually end up showing through after I paint it. So after about 4 thin coats, this is what you'll be looking at. And like I said, I just put the fan right there and this dries very quickly. I usually give it about 10 to 15 minutes. And once that's set, this is what it'll look like dry, and it just kind of looks like a toy. And it really gives a seamless, smooth, kind of satin glossy finish. So I went ahead and taped up the teeth and plugged up the eye holes, and I did seal the back with saran wrap because I will be gluing my dreads back there and I don't want any paint to get to that surface or else it won't stick. So just make sure you cover that. This right here is some good shit. This is iron lac, and I love this because it dries so fast and it does such a good coat, and I love this color here, and I don't even think they sell it anymore. But this is what it looks like, and I just went ahead and start spraying it. It does not have to be perfect, don't worry. I'm also terrible at spray painting. I have like no experience, so if I can do it, you can do it, and you'll see what I mean when I give you guys a close-up later. But just try to get it as even as you can and all over the place. Even if you get it on the neck, totally fine. This works really well on fabric too. And always, guys, make sure you are spray painting responsibly. Try to get yourself in a nice open area. I'm in my laundry room / garage area. It's well ventilated. I can keep the doors open. That way I'm not breathing everything in. I'm also wearing a face mask because the spray paint does irritate my throat a bit. So just make sure you protect yourself, okay? I'm so glad that I decided to go with the texture on the forehead because it did stay and it does show through really well. And I tried to avoid the mouth, but a little bit of spray paint got in there, but it's no big deal. I'm gonna paint by hand and you won't even be able to tell. So when you do your base coat, just make sure you get the outermost parts because that's gonna be the most important. Everything else you can go back and fix later. And if your spray paint's not even, I'll show you how I evened it out. So the brow ridges on my mask weren't even, so I had to go in and do some slicing, and the spray paint definitely exposed it, so I was a little upset with that. But like I said, you can go back and build upon it. So I'm just showing you the imperfections because it's not going to come out perfect, but I can go through and fix it, which I do. Yeah, you can see all my texture, which I didn't like at first, but you know what? It kind of added to the mask later, and it's going to be painted black anyway, so it wasn't a huge deal. So I'd like to take some airbrushing classes down the road, but I didn't have access to any of that, and I am a painter, so I used my skills to do all the details here. So if you're not, you may need help with this. But unfortunately, I'm missing my footage where I paint the mouth, and I'm trying not to beat myself up about it, but I cannot find it anywhere. But I did do all of this by hand, and I even went through and added a little bit of white accents to make the mouth look wet and shiny. So I did want to stop and focus on this real quick. As you can see, I've added more foam clay, even though it was already sealed and spray painted, and this is what I was talking about. It's very forgiving. You can literally go through and change something that you don't like and just reseal it, and you can paint right over it. So I've already sealed this piece with the Flex Bond, and I'm just going through and painting it. And you will have to do multiple coats if you are using black foam clay, but it's totally worth it. And if you make mistakes, you can literally just build right on top of it or break it apart and start over. Just make sure you seal it every time. And this is a couple of layers and some shading later where I'm coming in and adding some detail. You can really see the difference here. So I am using backer rod again that I cut into even pieces for the dreads. Now they don't look like the most realistic dreads, but for right now they work until I do find a better substitute, and they keep my mask lightweight. I also went to my local beauty supply or hair store. You can find these for 99 cents. They're just the little decorative things that go on your braids and dreads and stuff. And I decided to use those instead of making them because why not? You got to work smarter, not harder. And I have no regrets. It turned out really good. I decided to add an accent of feathers to pay homage to Prey, and it turned out really good. I liked it. So I tried to keep her looking feminine, so I added like a wing liner look, and I also gave her the City Hunter's markings because he has my favorite patterns. Now I knew I wanted a biomask for her, so for all of you predator lore experts, you're gonna love this one, but I decided to look into the Amengi because I wanted to marry the Amengi mask with the feral predator mask and kind of make my own unique mask, but pay homage to both at the same time. So I got a handy dandy reference photo and started covering the head in saran wrap. And I wanted the mandibles on both the top and bottom to hang out like the feral predators does. So I only covered the top part. So just a quick hack here, because I am lazy and I don't like to do the same amount of work twice. So what I did is I drew an eyeball on the mask where it should sit, and then I wet a paper towel so you can see that outline through it, and I covered it in tape. That way I can trace the outline of the eyeball and cut it out and flip it to the other side, and I just have to make sure that it's even, and then I can trace that and then cut out the other eye hole. So to me, this is the best way to mirror something, so that way I don't have to do the same amount of work twice. So hopefully that helps. In case you're wondering why I didn't just make half of a mask and just mirror it, the reason being is because I did sculpt this by hand, and I know that my head isn't perfectly symmetrical. So I did have to cover the entire head because I do think one side sticks out a little further than the other. That way I can ensure that the mask I make out of EVA foam will be a perfect fit instead of having to go back and redo everything I did. So after the mask is complete, I just cut it up in pieces, make myself a template, and then trace it on the EVA foam, cut it out, glue it, and I know it looks crazy right now, but just bear with me, no one's gonna see it. I just wanted to make sure it fit before I go ahead and start adding detail with foam clay on the top, and it looks pretty good so far. So I am missing my footage where I add the foam clay, but this is all after all the detail, and I'm sealing it, and I'm about to sit it to dry after a few coats. So, you know, rinse and repeat. Another side note, you can sand the foam clay once it's dry, and I do wish I would have sanded this for a more smoother looking bone finish. I do have some imperfections in here that I've been able to notice, so I might utilize that next time before painting and sealing. Just to show you guys how much of a nerd I am, I decided to look up the Yautja alphabet and add a little secret message onto my mask. So if you figure it out, please let me know in the comments below. Even though this mask is extremely lightweight, I wanted to make sure I can breathe, especially in this Florida heat, so I did hide some breathing holes in the mouth. So this was my cherry on top. I wanted the bright glowing green blood just like the movies, and I found this awesome glow-in-the-dark paint, and you just got to charge it up and it looks amazing. So that way when I'm at the con and I do my epic face reveal, you can get all the blood, especially in the dark. So I love it. But yeah, thank you guys for watching this. I know it was a lot and I know I'm missing a lot, but like I said, I do make another head, and I will probably remake a whole entire Predator cosplay. So just stay tuned for that in the future, and please just keep in mind that I'm very new to this. I don't have like templates available. I don't have the money to afford latex and rubber and all of those other things, so this is just the cheapest and most efficient way for me to make my Predator cosplay. And I did want to let you guys know that I will upload some more videos soon on how I did the other things like the feet, the necklaces, the bodysuit, all kinds of stuff. So just make sure you subscribe so you can get an update about that, and don't forget to follow me on my Instagram where I share these pictures and more of my other cosplays. So thanks for watching, y'all. Bye.